Dan Roberts. Please stay on the line. Miami Trace School District Telephone Town Hall meeting. We have many folks on the line with us, and we appreciate you participating in this unique opportunity to communicate with the school district and Superintendent Dan Roberts. I want to remind folks that they can participate on the call with a question, and you need to press star 3 on your telephone keypad if you're interested in asking a question. Again, the star button and star 3 on your telephone keypad. And we'll have folks joining for the next little bit. I'm going to turn it back over to Superintendent Dan Roberts now. But again, remember to hit star 3 on your telephone keypad, and we will get to your questions here shortly. Superintendent Roberts?
Thanks again, Matt, and I'd like to also thank everyone for joining the call. Before we get to questions, I would like to share some introductory information about this issue that I've wanted to share for some time. First of all, our school district's mission is to protect and educate the students. And it's our mission that we take very seriously. And someone here who works at this facility and on this site, and when they don't fulfill that mission, we need to take corrective action immediately. And that's what happened recently when we learned that a special needs student was mistreated and spoken to disrespectfully by 2 staff members. You may have heard a few snippets of the audio tape of the mean and unprofessional things that were said. An investigation was started immediately, and once we had verifiable proof, we acted quickly by taking the following steps. First, we moved the student into a different learning environment here in this district, and there have been no complaints or issues since then. Number 2, we immediately demanded the resignation of a teacher's aide. The worst of the things said to the student during the course of this event were said by the aide on a day when our teacher was not present. She was on leave for a doctor's appointment. The aide has resigned and no longer has a license to work because the Ohio Department of Education has revoked her license. Number 3, we immediately corrected and disciplined the teacher. First, the principal disciplined her verbally, and then I, as a superintendent, disciplined her in written form. I was very clear when I made my message to her that she did not live up to the mission to protect and educate our children. But that's not what we did with the teacher. That's not all. I immediately, upon hearing the audio tapes, on May 5th, referred her to the State Department of Education Office of Professional Conduct for a full investigation. The Ohio Department of Education Office of Professional Conduct spent 5 months looking into this with their professional investigators. And here's what their experts said. They did not recommend her to be fired. I repeat that. They did not recommend that she be fired. They instead ordered her to take corrective training so she will never make this mistake again. Our teacher is on an unpaid leave of absence for the remainder of this school year. If she wants to teach again in this district, she'll have to take the training required by the Ohio Department of Education and show us that she has learned from it. I can assure all the public she has already began that process. Some people have asked why this teacher wasn't fired. Here's the answer. She had absolutely no performance issues or disciplinary issues in her past. In fact, the teacher was previously recognized as the Teacher of the Year. However, we understand at this point in time she did not live up to that billing as such a high-quality teacher, but from the evaluations of 3 administrators over the course of 5 years, they cited her as a distinguished teacher. Now, the aide acted a little bit differently, and that is important to note, that on the days when the most unprofessional things were said, I mention again, the teacher was not in that room. There was a substitute in the room during that day, and you can hear on the audio tape that the aide was whispering to the student, whispering. There was no way that anyone could have possibly heard what she was saying. Those are the facts. Now, I realize that some people want this teacher to be fired. I also realize there are other people who think this teacher should not be disciplined in any manner. Both of these sides are going to be disciplined because the teacher wasn't fired, but she was disciplined. And I repeat, she was disciplined from the principal, from myself as the superintendent, and from the Ohio Department of Education. These are how things were resolved with respect to the staff involved. As you may know, a lawsuit was filed in all of this. And I'd like to share some background of that lawsuit and how we proceeded. The student involved lives with her mother and her mother's boyfriend. Before I ever learned of this problem, the mother and her brother and their mother's boyfriend had hired a lawyer. I want to make clear to our people, on April 28th at 5:15 approximately in the evening, I received a email from Children's Services alerting that there were alleged allegations of mistreatment. Again, that was on April 28th. At 8 a.m. on Friday, April 29th, I was in the facility beginning the investigation on this matter. And then by the end of the day on Friday, we had already received from a lawyer of the family a demand that the teacher and the aide be fired and a settlement of $300,000 cash. We felt that this was the first and only communication that I had involving a letter demanding and the cash settlement and also the termination. The law does not allow me to tell you the amount that we, at one point in time, were negotiating to settle this amount, but I believe that you would be shocked and dismayed about the amount that they'd actually asked for. I don't know about you, but I don't really believe it's right that they would ask for such a settlement. There's no doubt that this student was mistreated and spoken to with disrespect, but they demanded that, and that demanding of that much money, I felt, was out of line, and so did our 5 board members. The district at first refused to pay this, but after talking with our lawyers and our insurance company, we quickly realized that fighting this case in court could take years. And along the way, our legal costs could quickly exceed approximately $500,000. And the worst of all, if this had gone to court, a special needs student who we felt so compelled to protect involved would have been forced to testify in open court. We didn't feel that would be fair. In fact, I was very, very sad to see that the mother's boyfriend was taking the student around to multiple television interviews. The very thing we felt compelled to protect her against public scrutiny had occurred time and time again. I professionally feel the child should not have been subjected to that. She's a very shy, very reserved person. That, in addition to the desire to limit the legal costs, was why this district eventually settled the lawsuit. I want to make sure and absolutely clear to all of our citizens there was a $300,000 cash settlement, of which only $25,000 came from Miami Trace Schools. The insurance company that we deal with paid the other $275,000, which is, in essence, like saying we had to pay a deductible. In summary, I want to say this. There's no school district that's perfect. People make mistakes, and they fall short of what has been expected of them. And that certainly occurred here. No one is angrier at the aide or teacher than I am. As a father of a daughter, I was outraged when I heard what was said on the audio tapes. As an educator for over 3 decades, I was very disappointed our staff would act in this way, that anyone would do that. We've talked for many years about the Miami Trace way. That is not how we do business. But when we learned of this incident, I really want our people to understand we acted quickly to make sure the student was safe and the teacher and the teacher's aide were disciplined. There are now new safeguards put in place to help avoid a similar incident in the future. Before getting to your questions, I'd like to say also that there is information that we are not able to share with you this evening. The facts we would like you to know are very important that might even change your opinion about this entire situation. We simply cannot add. And here's why I can't tell you these facts. The law says we cannot talk about an individual student's situation in the classroom or things that family members did or said related to the student's education unless we have a signed waiver from the family. We asked the student's mother for permission to discuss this case fully with you. We told her we wanted to release all the facts so the citizens like you could hear all the information. Unfortunately, the mother and her boyfriend refused to sign the waiver that would allow us to do just that. And if you would like, you can come by my office and we can show you that exact waiver that we'd asked them to sign. So if there's something we can't talk about, we simply will not talk about it, but we will try to be as open and as honest with you as we possibly can. As the superintendent of this district, I work hard, and I work hard for you, and are committed to sharing information open and honestly. After this call is completed, anyone who wants to review the documents and to explain maybe some of the things we've done or prove the things we have told you tonight, you are free to come by the central office, and I will do my best to share that information with you. Simply stop by, and we'll make those things available for you. This time, I would like Matt to please take some questions that might be on the call list.
Thank you, Superintendent Roberts. I want to thank you for sharing that information with us, and I want to welcome new folks to the call. We have a lot of residents on the line currently, and I appreciate you calling in. If you want to ask a question, we'll get to some questions here momentarily. If you want to ask a question, press *3 on your telephone keypad. Again, the star button and the number 3 if you'd like to ask a question. And let's go ahead and take our first question. I am going to bring Debbie live on the line. Debbie, are you with us?
Yes.
Go ahead with your question.
My question was, in the very beginning of what you've seen on the news media, is what brought Dan Roberts to consider pressing charges against the parents for doing what they did, the videotape, the calling and complaining about the aide and the teacher, when in all reality, as parents, we're obligated to make sure our kids are taken care of completely. Anywhere, go, we do our best to do that. I'm the mother of a special needs child that just recently graduated from Miami Trace. I had no problems. So it didn't, that doesn't apply to me at all. I can only say good things. But I just wondered, when I read all the articles and seen all the media, what in the first place brought him to that conclusion that he maybe needed to press charges against the parents.
Debbie, I appreciate your call, but I want to make sure you understand I or no one on the board or anyone from this district ever pressed any charges against the family in any manner. There would be nothing in the sheriff's log or anything that would bear that out. So, and I would invite you to please, contact the sheriff's department, see if we ever initiate any charges. I'm not sure where that rumor started, but that is just not accurate. We have had actually very little contact, if any contact, with the parents since the April 28th incident where I was alerted to that there was allegations. But, ma'am, no charges filed whatsoever.
Okay, thank you. We are going to go next to Jim. Jim, are you
yes,
I'm here. On the line?
Yes.
Go ahead with your question.
Yes, I was wondering, why was the treadmill in the classroom?
Jim, that's a great question. In fact, we had experts from the Hopewell Region 14, 2 of them, that brought forth the treadmill, new medical knowledge and strategies to help children who are autistic or who have difficulty focusing. The use of a treadmill helps them through the rhythm, the motion, and the sound of the machine to help them focus. When the 2 persons brought that in, they also alerted us that this would be a good thing for this use for other children that are not necessarily autistic to, again, help them focus, help them get engaged in the lesson. The treadmill, I really want to emphasize, was never, ever used as punishment for any child. In fact, it was used as an incentive at times. When students would get on there, they would answer questions, and if they kept answering the questions, they got to stay on that. The treadmill is, again, a medically approved apparatus for use for kids who are having problem focusing. I'm on the hospital foundation board, and we recently purchased a swing for the physical therapist to use for autistic children so that when they're having trouble focusing in their physical activity, they will literally put them on the swing. And again, that rhythm, that motion, that sound of the swing will help them. All those the children who were on that treadmill, the parents were made aware that they were using it. And it was endorsed by our Hopewell Region 14 experts in this physical capacity to use in the classroom. So good. I appreciate the question.
Thank you. I want to welcome some new folks who have joined us on the line. We have hundreds of residents on the line currently, and I thank everybody for participating tonight. If you'd like to ask a question, again, we'll be taking questions throughout the next 45 minutes or so. You can ask a question by pressing *3 on your telephone keypad, and we'll get to as many questions as possible. And next up, we will go to Holly. Holly, are you on the line with us?
Yes.
Go ahead with your question.
Okay, this is actually more of a comment, but also I do have a question.
Sure.
First off, I want to thank you all for, you guys did a really great job, handling this situation promptly and everything. And, I had just moved into this district just a couple months ago, And but anyway, my question is, I'm wondering, why was the Record Herald one of the last media outlets to cover this case?
As far as reports to the media, Children's Services and the Office of Professional Conduct were the first to be aware. As far as releasing this information, Channel 10 was somehow reported early. We had tried to make the settlement. 2 days after the settlement had been made and a non-disclosure had occurred, somehow Channel 10 had gotten the information. We're not sure how they did. That was not from Miami Trace employees, not from our Board of Education or Administration. So Channel 10 was the first to get that. We did report, though, immediately to our newspaper and radio station. Have a great association with them. They need to be the first to know. But in this case, that was not who gave them the information. We want to make sure that, again, everyone knows we've been very happy with the Record Herald coverage that has been made. It's been very thorough. They've been very fair and even-handed. I don't think the other outlets have been, but we like to work with them first and always try to do that.
Very good. Let's go next to Teresa. And Teresa, are you on the line with us?
Yes, I am.
Go ahead with your question.
Okay, my question, since it seemed to be about the money, kind of, I guess. My question is, did the money go into a trust fund for the child, since what happened was to the child and not to the parents?
It is, I certainly don't have the ability to manage where that money was going, but it's my understanding it is in the juvenile probate court under the direction of the judge, which is David Bender, and he will oversee how that money is spent.
Very good. I want to continue welcoming folks to the line as they join us. Thanks for joining this Miami Trace School District telephone town hall meeting with Superintendent Dan Roberts. If you want to ask a question, I urge you to participate by pressing *3 on your telephone keypad, and we'll continue taking some calls. I will go to Pamela next. Pamela, are you on the line with us?
Yes, I am.
Great. Go ahead with your question.
I guess I don't understand why the teacher was disciplined at all if she was not there when the allegations of abuse took place.
That is a very fair question. At first, when we were presented with the information, and it was a physical nature that the allegations were against the teacher from Children's Services, we never felt that was in any way accurate. But later on, upon listening to all 28 hours of the tape, there were things on the tape that were said that were disparaging, that should have not been done by a professional, and that's why the teacher was disciplined. There are, again, our main purpose and our mission is to protect and educate the children. We felt somewhat short of that, and the teacher understood that. There was also some things she heard that our aide were saying that a prudent person should have reported to the principal. She failed to do that. That was a big part of the Ohio Department of Education's finding, that there were times when our teacher was present and she did hear our aide saying things that she has a duty of care or responsibility to report. But, because of that level, there are mistakes made. But we didn't feel that was a level that you would be fired for. That was a level that would warrant a discipline, a reprimand, and we move forward. We train and we remediate and we rehabilitate her. We don't throw her to the curb.
Thank you. Superintendent Roberts, we've had some new folks join the call since you did your opening statement. Would you mind just going back and sort of summarizing your openings for the new folks, and we'll get some more folks queued up for questions as you do that.
I will do that. We would like to thank all of our Miami Trace District residents who are on the line with us this evening. Our main purpose tonight in providing this town hall public forum on the telephone is to explain and answer questions about the recent classroom incident involving a teacher's aide, and a special needs student at the middle school. Given the incomplete media coverage that has occurred, we felt it was important that we connect with you directly to share a more complete story. Over a course of a few weeks, I did approximately 95 minutes of interviews with television, of which only about 30 seconds was told. And we didn't think that was very fair, that was the only part of the story that was being told. We wanted an opportunity to tell our citizens, those people who support and live in our community and work and provide help to educate all of our children. We thought that was important. Our mission, we've said this repeatedly, is to protect and educate our children, and we're going to do that to the very best of our ability.
Very good. Welcome, new folks joining us. Again, my name is Matt, and this is the Miami-Trace School District Telephone Town Hall meeting with Superintendent Dan Roberts. We're going to get back to some questions now. If you have a question and want to participate, press *3 on your telephone keypad, and we will get to as many questions as we can, hopefully get to your question. We're going to take Catherine live on the line. Catherine, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Go ahead with your question.
The media repeatedly says that this mother's boyfriend is her father. Is that an actual fact? And if he is not the actual father, what legal responsibility does he have for the girl?
The gentleman that we're dealing with, Brian Longberry, has been always identified to us as the mother's boyfriend, not a legal guardian, not the father, but as the boyfriend of the mother. We can only deal legally with the mother because of that, but much of the contact has been with the mother's boyfriend.
Very good. Let's go directly to another question. We are going to go to David next. David, are you on the line? Dave, are you on the line?
Yes, I am.
Very good. Go ahead.
I got the timeline on when you were confronted with a complaint. My question is, the principal of the building, was he aware of this situation prior to your timeline of the complaint? Because the plaintiff alleged that they'd complained a lot.
Dave, I've had repeated conversations with our principal. There were times when our principal did have discussion with, again, the mother's boyfriend, who we legally cannot deal with, as far as being aware that the girl was being mistreated in the classroom. He was never made aware of that.
Great, and folks, we had a question earlier in the call about the treadmill being in the room, and some new folks have joined the call. So I want to take Kent live because Kent had a question about the treadmill. Kent, go ahead.
Yes, my name is Kent. How are you doing today?
Good, thank you. Thanks for calling in.
All right, no problem. I'm just wondering about the treadmill. Why was in school, and when the kids go to school, they should not get hurt on a treadmill like that? What was it in the classroom anyway?
It was placed in the classroom by two experts from Region 14 Hopewell. They placed that there to assist a child who was autistic. It has been found medically that children with autism benefit greatly from the motion, the rhythm, and the sound of a machine such as like that to help them gain focus, and that was what it was specifically used for. It was also additionally used on the request of the two experts upon asking from our teacher and aide in the room, can this be used with other students? And they were absolutely yes. They set that at the very slowest speed. They, according to, again, our expert, even if the person was on there at that speed for 10 minutes or so, they, quote, would not even build up a sweat. But it was helpful in that manner. This has been something new that we put in. It was never used and intended to be for punishment. It was something that would be beneficial to the children.
Very good. I want to welcome those folks just joining us. I think most everybody's joined the call, and I want to thank the hundreds of Miami-Trace School District residents who have joined us. We have many folks in the queue waiting to ask questions, so I think we will keep going. Ed, I'm taking you live on the line. Ed, are you with us?
Sure, I am.
Go ahead.
I'm curious if the insurance company put pressure on you to settle the case, as opposed to taking it to court.
Ed, they did not put pressure onto us, but they certainly gave us advice, at which also our attorneys gave us the same advice. It would be in the best interest of Miami-Trace schools to settle. In this case, because if we settled at that time, we were able to have the insurance company pay a very large majority of that cash settlement, which was $300,000 total, of which Miami Trace was on the responsibility end of paying $25,000 of that $300,000 settlement. If we went forward and fought this in court, knowing that we had some culpability, that there was some fault here on our district, on our employees' part, the attorney's fees over the next couple years that it could have taken to sell this could exceed over $500,000. And then if there were punitive damages, we were not able to use the insurance company to help do that. We were very concerned also about the student going out and testifying. This is a very special needs child. We did not want her to have the public scrutiny of trying to, tell a story out in public.
Very good. We're going to keep going with the questions for Superintendent Dan Roberts, and I am going to take John live on the line. John, are you with us?
Yes.
John, go ahead.
Well, I just wanted I don't know where the boyfriend's legality comes in on this, and to further impact this child and take her out in the public, and I think that's totally unacceptable.
We have felt very compelled to protect that child and from public scrutiny. That is not my obligation, though, as the parent, to do that. They have chosen to do that. We don't think that's right or fair to do that, but that is their prerogative. They are the parents.
Great, and let's go to Bev next. Bev, are you live on the line?
Yes, good evening.
Good evening. Go ahead with your question.
Thank you. This has been a most difficult issue all across the county, whether you have children in the school system, whether you have children at Miami Trace. When a child is in danger, that seems to be one issue that riles and curls the hair on everybody. So far, good job, gentlemen. My question is this, though. You have already commented that the teacher has been disciplined, and that there are corrective trainings that she